Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of announcing to you that we are going to make an effort to repeat the old reveille. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Cimarron's Big Guns. Today is a chilly fall day here in Harper, Texas, and we're excited to bring you our latest interview with beautiful engraver Terry Theis. How are you today?
Doing good, thanks.
Good. So why don't we just kind of start at the beginning? So you're from this area, correct?
San Antonio, Texas, born and raised. Been in Gillespie County since '82, yeah, most of my life.
All right. And so how did you get interested and become an engraver?
I was a rock mason when I was young, and if you look around you can almost see a rock house through the window here, my rock wall. It was an interesting story. I was in a car accident, and I wasn't hurt at the time. And I stepped out of the car, and I had this huge premonition that this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
One of those things beyond words. And a week later, my back started hurting. And I was a rootin' tootin' cowboy. I was a ranch hand on our ranch here and working at the livestock auction in Fredericksburg. And I couldn't lift up a feed sack for a year. 23 years old. I mean, didn't. So I started saying, well, what can I do now to make a living? And I've always been, since I was young, cutting. I had a proclivity for cutting. And it was a toss-up between saddle making and engraving, gun engraving. I had an interest. And I just decided there's fewer engravers around, so I chose gun engraving. And started searching out teachers.
So who was your teacher?
My first teacher was Tommy Kay. He was at Telegraph, Texas, a very small community south of Junction, Texas, in Kimball County. And he taught me the basics. A year or two later, I went to Frank Hendricks, who's a world-class, both of them are deceased now. Frank Hendricks, absolutely world-class, trained in Germany, engraver. Starting engraving, hammer and chisel, of course. It's an extremely frustrating experience, especially not having a teacher standing over my shoulder telling me what I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
I would go visit and ask questions and take notes, come home and try it, which is okay, but it's way better to have a teacher next to you because you make a lot of mistakes. So just doing that and practice. Gravermeisters were just coming in at that time. This is 1983, 85. They were very new. But I decided early on that is not for me. Because to me, engraving, I'm the machine. And all of my energy comes out at the end of this point. The only contact I have, I'm going to put on just quickly. The only contact I have with my piece is, you can see my feet on the ground and the point of my graver. Okay, and this is a combination of Nimsky and Belgian style that I talked about. And this actually, my hammer, this handle was made in a 13th or 15th century barnyard where I was living in Germany. And this was given to me by Gerrit Rausch. This came from Germany, my actual handle. Yep. Now I'm doing a second cut here. Much work, and actually a lot of the Nimsky is just done with one good heavy broad cut. But my custom work is usually cut at least twice, sometimes 3 times, for depth. And then the background gets removed, and we call it high relief when you remove the background. So that's what I'm doing now. I've got the pattern cut already, and this is a deep second cut. And the thing about the deep second cut, the nice thing about it, if you do your first cut good, that's fine. But with your second cut, you can go ahead and do corrections and smooth out curves that are just a little bit rough. So you can go in and there's just a finesse to it.
Very cool.
And also my style, this deeper style, my goal is to where it looks dramatic from across the room. You can generally, the depth and the shininess that is there because of the depth you can see, and at the same time when you get up close to it, I want the details to be there, the finesse of the details. So it's a good combination. But I've stuck with hammer and chisel my whole life. It's just my nature. Yes.
So beyond that, tell me a little bit about your style and of engraving that you like to do.
Oh boy. I have experimented with every major style there is. I've leaned towards the Germanic style. I come from, on my father's side, the Texas German, so I just have had a fascination with that. The Germanic style is also a heavier, deeper work as opposed to, say, the Italians, and so I always leaned into that, and that led me to study in Germany back in 1993 with Erich Bessler, the foremost master of Germany. But basically, I experimented with almost every major style of engraving there is. Maybe there's 2 or 3 that just I didn't have traction to. But I mean, I've just tried them all, and it's just, you know, my whole life, my artwork, everything is organic. I just dive in, and then what works best is what's more natural to me. That's what I do. So basically, my main styles right now for the last 10 years have been what I call a modern American scroll, which is sort of a combination of the old classic Western Nimsky style, which we do on the Cimarron guns, and just sort of blended with all the world styles. And my second favorite, really my favorite, I do a lot of German blackleaf and dash Belgian scroll, which is an extremely complex, ornate style. So just my personal preferences.
So let's go back to when you went over to Germany. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and what it is like to kind of, I don't know, apprentice and learn under a master engraver like that?
Oh, it was incredible. It was just a lifetime dream. For starters, that was way before the internet. I started trying to contact Erich Bessler. Now, I can't talk about my life and artwork without spirituality. Or whatever, the ether, because I was just attracted to Erich Bessler for some reason. You know, just one of those things. Mm-hmm. I read an article, I still got it, in an old gun jet, like 1980 Gun Digest, you know, on Erich Bessler, and I said, that's the guy I want to go study with. You know, there's hundreds of European engravers. I said, that's the one. Okay. Before the internet, I would just go to the big gun shows and start asking around. Anybody know Erich Bessler?
Yeah.
I think it was Dietrich Oppel or someone, one of the old time gun makers finally gave me my contact, and I wrote Erich Bessler out of the blue, and I didn't know this from the article. He is the most giving, dedicated to education engraver like in all of Europe. He would organize tours of the German engravers to go down to Italy and go hang out and visit the Italian engravers. He was just a big-hearted, teacher. That's what he was about, and I didn't know that. So when I say I was attracted to him, it was just the most incredible experience. This was 1993, and German reunification was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Eric Bessler crossed into West Germany like in 52 with his possessions on his back.
Oh.
He was from Suhl, East Germany, Tuttingen, which is the old gun-making center. Suhl, we all know Suhl. And when it got really hot with communism, a lot of people crossed the border while they still could, and a lot of those people settled in a little town called Münnerstadt, where the Heim factory is, H-E-Y-M. I don't think it exists anymore. So that's where Eric was living. But what was really cool is we would go back to East Germany. Okay, the border was open, but the guard towers were still up. You could see an East German walking down the street in West Germany at that time by the pinched look on their face.
Yeah.
It was that bad. So anyhow, but what was really wonderful is I got to see the reunification of Germany within the gun engraving and the gun making industry.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. When I went to study with Eric Bessler in Germany, I had been engraving for 10 years already in this sort of just a loose system here, and I was accomplished. But I got to go into his shop and do whatever. This is how generous he was. He normally made money off of his students. You know, that's how it works. You know, you're training them and they're working for you. I got to do whatever I wanted for 3 months every day. And I didn't pay him a dime, and he did not make any money off me. He was an extremely generous man. So it was just, and so I got to ask him. I had my own, I had my own agenda, and I got to work on here all of these. I carried these on the plane. Every day, tool making, little punch making is an important part of engraving. And Eric Bessler, the German system is just hugely precision. And so every day, it took about an hour or two to make each of these special purpose punches, and every day I would spend an hour or two making one, and he would tell me, what to do, etc., etc. And of course, you can imagine the amount of hours. These are what I made in Germany 25 years ago.
Amazing.
Still, here's one that I even kept. The one. This is Eric Bessler. This was his one because I wanted to know to have a copy for this. This is actually a special punch to punch undercuts for gold inlay. It's a very, very technical thing. So to get your gold inlay to stick takes a really exact, and Eric Bessler used to always say, the tiniest little exact detail is what counts.
Yeah.
And it does, for engraving. Absolutely.
So when we give you a gun to work on, and I personally have never, commissioned one, how does Mike, how do you go over what he wants?
It varies. On the show guns, like I just did, was it a Spencer? The one that we just got back from Turnbull with the fantastic case color hardening. Mike pulled out he's really good about, he's got his own reference library very similar to mine with the old engravings, and he'll find one he really likes, and he'll say, oftentimes he'll say, I want you to do this, and so generally that's what I'll do with some variations. Some of the old engravings, there can be a few things I don't like about them, so I will adjust to my own taste, but by and large follow that pattern. On the standard models, basically I will go by your catalog, but what I've also done is gone through your catalog and then gone back and found the model that I figured y'all were, was the prototype for that, and we'll go back to the original old 1880s gun, and find the original. I've done that numerous times.
Right on. Well, aside from you being a master engraver, you also got great chops on accordion. How did you get into playing accordion?
it's sort of like getting into engraving. I was struck. It was just I call it struck by a bolt of music.
Yeah.
Is my only similar to getting in that wreck and having that premonition. This is the best thing I have to do. I was struck by a bolt of music. I saw Flaco Jimenez is Texas's greatest accordion player, and his brother Santiago Jr. I saw at the Texas Folklife Festival back in 2001, and I just said, I got to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And I did not even know how to tap my foot at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know. I was married to a church organist at that time, and people would ask me, "Do you play music?" And I said, "No, I am totally non-musical." And but I was just struck by a bolt of music. But what's really important in that story is my whole life is about going with my passions, and they change. And if I don't seize the moment and go with them, sometimes those passions can slip away.
Absolutely.
I find it very important to pay attention to what is calling me next. And the accordion music has led to doing school programs. And my main message to school kids is go with your passions. And, you know, in life, the most powerful thing we always have is our own experience.
Yep. And so how did you get into working with the kids? Like, that's really interesting. Like, how long has that been happening?
About 8 or 9 years. I was on the fire department here in Harper, and that's a wild Yahoo adrenaline rush. Same as working at the auction and getting run up fences, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm getting older, and I said, you know, when I do 10 years on the fire department, I mean 3 in the morning in front of burning buildings, you know, and pulling people out of wrecks, you know, it's hard on you.
Yeah.
And I told myself, after 10 years, I've always been an educator at heart. And so I said, I want to start working with kids. So somehow it just organically grew where I work with kids a lot, do
That's
a lot.
cool.
The Texas Heritage Music Foundation out of Kerrville pays us, it's called the BARD program, to go into schools. So we have a wonderful system. I hope there's other systems around the country that pay artists to go in when there's an artist day at school. You know, we'll have painters and cellos and potters, you know, on an artist day, like Friday before spring break.
Yeah.
So days like that. It's just the greatest.
That's great. That would be great for artists, but even better for the children.
Yeah.
Well, way cool. Well, let's go take a look around the joint and do some jamming.
Okay.